Welcome back to Shannons Club TV, the program for Shannons Club members and all motoring enthusiasts who are passionate about their cars and motorcycles. Motor racing historian Mark Oastler and I have been busy on the Shannons Club website, writing about cars in Australia never to be forgotten because of what they achieved on the road and in competition.
Now, these paired histories have proven so popular with Shannons Club members, we're now featuring the cars here on Shannons Club TV. So let's take a look at a car that was unusual but nothing special when it was released. But half a century later, it's a modern day performance icon that has never deviated from its original design.
The Porsche 911 was not a good car when it was launched in 1963 as the Type 901. With close to a 40-60 front to rear weight bias, it was a real handful. So why did Porsche, who knew better, launch a sports coupe with a layout that seemed so fundamentally wrong? Well, it made no sense for Porsche to replicate the heavier and soggier sports coupes coming from its Stuttgart rival, Mercedes-Benz. After all, Porsche was known for its light, fast and edgy sports cars. Yet the all-important US buyer demanded room for golf clubs, occasional seating for 2 extra passengers and low maintenance. So the 911 started life as a packaging exercise. For such a tiny car, the packaging was indeed outstanding. It then took Porsche several years of constant development to give it the handling and performance to match. So Mark, why do you think the Porsche 911 became such a successful track car when common sense suggests that it couldn't be?
Well, having the engine hanging out over the back axle, that's never ideal, as we know. But that in turn gave the car fantastic traction, particularly off the start line. Take into account it was also very light, aerodynamically very good, great brakes and handling, and that engine, that just had so much development potential. So when you put all those things together, it became a pretty effective weapon for both racing and rallying.
And so by late 1966, the 911S confirmed that Porsche did know what it was doing. Its raised compression, extra overlap in the cam timing, bigger valves and ports, upgraded Webers and exhaust tweaks seemed to shock the engine into life. With the handling now sorted and the smooth flat six wailing with performance, the 911S became the must-have sports car on and off the track. But Mark, the 911S didn't come from nowhere. The company was already using motorsport to write the next chapter, even here in Australia.
Coming up on Shannons Club TV, we'll meet a passionate owner of a Porsche 911 and get the latest auction news with Hammer Time. The 1968 Porsche 911 TR, raced by Alan Hamilton in the late 1960s, is arguably the most significant 911 to have raced in Australia. It was not only the first of its type to compete in the Australian Touring Car Championship, but it also came within 1 point of winning the title outright in 1969. The Hamiltons were the Australian Porsche importers, so it made sense for Alan to take on the local V8 giants in a 911. But the stripped-out competition version, called the 911R, with its featherweight fiberglass panels and plastic windows, was not eligible to compete here. Alan found the right tool for the job though, with the full steel-bodied 911 TR, which had been developed specially for European Grand Touring regulations that were similar to Australian touring car rules at the time. Joe, the 911 TR was typical of the Porsche philosophy of producing limited production runs of specially tweaked 911s that could be legally driven on the road, yet still contained a lot of serious competition breeding.
Yeah, well, these special 911s served two purposes. They homologated the cars for racing and they previewed what the normal 911 was going to get next year. So we saw alloy wheels, whale tails, turbos, all of those features that we saw in the production cars, they were all trialled and proven in the racing context first.
Yeah, that's pretty much the 911 story, isn't it?
Absolutely.
With its high-revving 2-litre Carrera 6 engine producing more than 200 brake horsepower, the lightweight 911 TR had great handling and braking, combined with tremendous rear-wheel traction and rock-solid reliability that its fragile V8-based competitors could only ever dream about. Hamilton duly piled on the points in the 1969 ATCC, which after 4 rounds came down to a nail-biting showdown at the final round in Tasmania between the Porsche driver and Pete Gagan in his V8 Ford Mustang. Amazingly, Gagan's car failed to start, which meant if Hamilton could win the race, he would win the title by 1 point. But he just missed out after not finding a way past Norm Beach's Monaro. If he'd won though, it would have been the greatest upset in the championship's history. Hope you're enjoying Shannons Club TV. Why not join the Shannons Club and share your passion for unique, rare and classic cars and motorbikes with other enthusiasts across the country. Keep up to date with the latest news, events and exclusive offers from Shannon.
My name's John Orchard. This is my 1965 911. I've had the car for 4 years. 2 years of that it's been under restoration and been on the road for the last 2 years. This is a very early 911. It's one of the oldest in the country. It was actually the 9th right-hand drive delivered into the UK. Spent most of its time in New Zealand and then came across to Australia. It had been used for racing and had flared guards, which have since been cut and restored to original. New paint, redoing all the chrome work and bringing it up to scratch. It's an iconic car. Everybody knows the 911, so when you're driving along you often have a lot of attention. Probably the most notable, a truck driver leaning out of his window while we were driving along near the West Gate, and he nearly ran off the road trying to take photos of the car. Look, there's so many different aspects of Porsche that are great. I love the newer cars, I love the older ones. I mean, these old ones have got absolute classic lines, and that for me holds the biggest appeal. Well, it's a beautiful Sunday and there's nothing better than driving my Porsche 911. It's as good as it gets.
Well, we're back with Chris Borrabon, Shannon's National Auctions Manager. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, Chris. Chris, the early small bumper Porsche 911s seemed to go through the roof there for a while. Pegged back a little, but what do you think drove that?
Look, I think there's a small number of the early 911s that were delivered here in Australia, and from memory, I think between 1965 and 73, there was only some 300 examples brought in, so it's quite a low number.
So it's a rarity and genuine right-hand drive car, that's important?
Absolutely, very important. I think genuine right-hand drive cars, genuine Australian delivered cars, with history books, very hard to find today, and good original examples with the correct options and everything are really going through the roof.
And that's because they're the simplest, the basic, the purest 911, is that what it's about?
I think so, and I think some of the exciting, late 60s, early 70s colours that we've also seen in them are fantastic, yeah.
And given the 911's competition heritage, are the buyers now who buy these cars, are they looking to compete in amateur club events, motorsport events with these cars?
It's definitely been growing, I think, in the last few years, Mark. We're seeing a lot of early 911s coming through in a Group S historic racing, and look, they're proving very competitive out there, racing against some of the big V8s or against some of the Alphas, and they're doing quite well.
Chris, Sportomatic was an option on those earlier Porsches. Where do they stand in the hierarchy? Some people have got rid of them and put manuals in. Where does that work with values?
That's an interesting one. Some people love them, some people hate them. But yeah, look, it's getting used to driving the Sportomatics. It's really a semi-manual box. It had the solenoid, obviously in the gear lever, and some people took a lot of getting used to it. So we have seen a lot of conversions from the Sportomatic to the manual gearboxes in the past, and they've been quite affordable to do. And I think a lot of people do prefer to have that manual box in the 911s. Really, a sports car. People want to have that manual box in there.
So it comes back to that basics again, that raw 911 appeal.
I think so, yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, Chris, and keep in mind all the latest auction information is available on the Shannons Club website. If you want some great photographs of the Porsche 911 in competition, or indeed any Australian competition car, make sure you check out Australia's most comprehensive online motorsport photo archive at autopics.com.au.
And you can find the full story on the road and race history of the Porsche 911 here on the Shannons Club website.
Well, Joe, it doesn't look like the love affair with the 911 Porsche is going to end anytime soon.
Well, how many times has it been out for the count, Mark? And every time they come back with something fantastic. 50 years in 2013, and it just seems to be getting stronger and stronger. So we've got plenty more to look forward to.
Yeah, I think it'll be around forever. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Shannons Club TV, and we look forward to your company next time.